Welcome to How to Become a Production SQL Database Administrator. My name is Raphael. In the previous two videos, we looked at how to take a full database backup and how to take a transactional log backup. In this video, we're going to look at the third type of backup, which is the differential backup. So just like the previous videos, I'm going to start from scratch so you have a better understanding where the differential backup plays. I'm going to execute this and drop it. It seems to be currently in use. Remember what I said, if that happens, just change it and drop the database, so that's fine. So again, I'm going to go relatively fast here because we've already done this a couple of times. So I'm now going to create a table in that database. I'm going to insert the records, view the records, and remember we have 6. I'm going to take a full database backup of that. So we have a full copy of those 6 records. We're going to look inside the backup. There it is. We see that it's a full database, and we've seen that before. And now I'm going to insert another record. I'm going to view it. And now I'm going to take a transactional log backup to cover that additional modification, which is an insert, as you know. It's always good to be redundant here so you have a better understanding what's going on. And now if I look at the inside again, obviously I should have 2 entries, which I do. One for the full, one for the log. I'm going to insert another record. Do the same thing. Take another transactional log. Look inside the records. I should have 3 records. 2 for transactional log and 1 for full. And now I'm going to insert another record. So as you can see, the database activity is continuing, and we're continually taking multiple transactional log backups to accommodate for those changes, in this case the inserts. Now if this happens every day, and if we're taking transactional log backups every 15 minutes, you're going to have about 95 transactional logs per day, and in addition to the full database. And the problem becomes when you want to restore it. If you want to restore that database and you're taking transactional logs every 15 minutes because you have a busy system, then that becomes a little more cumbersome. This is where a differential backup comes in play. A differential backup only records the changes since the last database full backup. And then it's great for the restore, and I'll be discussing that in more detail later. So let's now, for the sake of discussion, let's take a differential backup. And now we're going to insert another record. So remember, all this is doing is where there's an activity against the database by inserts of data, and we're taking transactional log backups mostly. As you can see, we've got 2 transactional log backups, or 3, 1 differential and 1 full. And more activity is going on against the database. Transactional logs are occurring. Obviously, I'm doing this manually, but this will be done by a job. So more activity is going on against the database. And again, I'm taking differential backups also. And one more, look into that. And again, a little more activity, and we're almost there. And then finally, I'm going to take a transactional log backup. And then I'm going to look inside the backup file. So now we can talk about the role of differential database backup. As you'll notice, the first thing I did was take a full database backup type 1. Then as activity occurred, I kept taking on a manual basis. I took transactional log backups, as you can see. Each time there was an activity, I took a transactional log backup. Then, as activity continued, I took a differential log backup. Now, what that differential log backup does is differently than the transactional log backup. The transactional log backup records everything that is happening to the database and recording it here. The transactional log backups only records the changes since the last full backup. Let me repeat that. The differential backup only records the changes since the last full backup. So for example, if we had 6 rows here as a full database backup, and then we added another 7th insert, the differential will record that 7th row as a change to the full database backup. And then we have transactional log backups again. Now this differential backup again, will record all the changes since the last full backup. But not only will it do that, it will also take into account what was the difference between this and the full backup. Therefore, differential backups are cumulative in nature, and they can get quite large in size. So it's very important that we monitor these. So let me repeat that process again. When you're having differential backups, it records all the changes since the last full backup. This one recorded all the changes since the last backup. This one recorded all the changes since the last backup, and it recorded all the differential backup records here also. And this, as a result, is getting bigger. And then we took a transactional log backup. The important thing of a differential log backup comes in play in twofold. One is when you have a tremendous amount of activity going on your database, and you have a tremendous amount of transactional log activity going on. Let's say if this was every minute that you had a transactional log going, you would have hundreds and hundreds per day. If you punctuate that by, let's say, every 6 hours a differential log, then when you need to restore, and this is the importance of it, when you need to restore the database, all you need to do is restore it with the first full backup, the last differential. Therefore, we skip all this. That is the importance of a differential backup. It comes in play when we're restoring, and obviously I'll go into the more detail when we go through the process of restoring a database. But let me repeat that. The primary purpose we have differential log backups is to help manage the transaction log backup accumulations. If we have a full database backup and we have many transactional log every minute, and we are punctuated by differentials, then when we need to restore the database, all we need to do is restore the full database backup, restore the last differential backup. We don't care about this anymore since this is cumulative, followed by any transactional log backups, in this case 1. So as you can see, I would only go full, differential, transactional, and I would get my database to the current state. So that is the importance of a differential backups. And differential backups are primarily used in large databases. They're not used in very small databases. Transactional log is sufficient. And obviously, if the frequency of the transactional log is occurring too many times, then the size doesn't matter either. It's the frequency of transactional log backups that matter. And so I hope that clears what a differential log backup is and how it helps us in our restore process. And again, I'll illustrate that when we do the restore. So I think I'll leave it here and pick it up in the next one when we talk. I'll be giving an example of a real life scenario utilizing these 3 types of backups: full backup, transactional log backup, and differential backup. And then actually I'm going to restore the database, and you'll get a better picture of how these come in play. So I'll leave it there. And my name is Raphael, and this is how to become a production SQL database administrator. See you in the next video.